everyone. It's Friday, which means it's another Experience Investigators Ask Me Anything webinar. Now, this week, we're not technically live. I'm actually taking a few days off to relax. I hope you get a chance to do that too. But we're still here providing a little bit of content so that hopefully, if that spurs questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Let me know what you think. And then when I get back from vacation, I will have a chance to respond to you. So feel free to still engage, just like always. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeannie Walters. I've been doing customer experience work for about 20 years. And one of the things that we're doing a lot of these days are virtual events. We are providing a lot of keynotes, webinars, training, you name it, it's happening. And we're doing that because obviously many of us are stuck at home and we still have lots of challenges about how to connect with our employees and our customers and everything else. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the big challenges facing us now that we're looking at the second half of 2020 and what a year it's been. So just as a reminder, we do try to do these every single Friday. Usually they're live and we have a very engaged community asking a lot of great questions. So feel free to get in touch. Find me on Twitter, find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, all these different places. We always love hearing from you. So let's get started. So 2020, right? It's been crazy. And as we look to the second half of 2020, it can feel like planning is almost futile. It feels like we're in a wait and see mode to see what really happens because there's no way we can predict what will happen. 2020 has thrown us a lot of surprises already. And what we're doing now is looking ahead and kind of saying, I don't know, shrug. And what I want you to think about is what can you do? What can you plan on for the rest of this year? How can you really look to provide successful and good customer experiences for your customers and for your employees and for everybody else? So there are a few ways we can still do this. We can still create extraordinary experiences for our customers in these extraordinary times. And the things I want you to remember, one is accessibility is the experience. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We'll also talk about how even though it's different, connection is still really important in all its forms. We have to make sure that we are still understanding how important it is to connect with one another and with our customers. And, planning, we still have to do it. We have to plan for progress within context. We have to be realistic about how we're moving forward this year specifically. So, when we talk about these, there are challenges, right? There are real challenges happening. One is that delivery is different in many industries. The way we deliver our customer experience is different than it was when we planned 2020. We might be providing that curbside pickup, or it might be a lot more digital than we expected. That's a challenge we have to face. The other is that connection is critical, but it's not the same. We are not going to be connecting this way in the same way that we would if we were able to sit down and have a cup of coffee together. So it happens, right? We have to just figure these things out. And the last one that I've heard a lot of is, you know what, planning is just too challenging. Leaders are throwing up their hands and saying, why bother? Why even bother? Let's just take it day by day. And while I can see why that would be tempting, it's really important to still look for progress, still look for how can we improve the experience for our customers? How can we make sure we're delivering to our employers? How can we make sure we're showing up for our employees? We still have to plan for that, even if it might not be executed exactly in the way that we plan. There's an old saying that, plans are futile, but planning is critical. And I think that that is so important. The act of planning helps us prepare. So let's talk about this first challenge. Delivery is different. We are experiencing so many things that we did not expect as customers ourselves. Think about how up until this year, how many of us had a televisit with our doctor? Maybe a handful of people, but now it's becoming the norm. People are starting to understand, you know what? I need to control the experience a little bit differently. So now we're being offered more convenient options because we're all in this situation together. So if we think about how we need to to deliver our customer experience, it's all about accessibility. And by accessibility, that could be everything from how accessible is your digital experience for like a big virtual event to how accessible is it for somebody to have that televisit if they've never done it before? How can we help our customers really understand that these delivery options are different? We're going to walk them through it, we're going to help them, and we're going to provide it in a really accessible way to them. Now, one of the things that I did was reach out to some influencers who I know in different arenas, you can say, and ask them for their opinion about what did they think about the rest of 2020 and customer experience. And this first one is from Sarbjeet Johal, who is a cloud architect and influencer. And what he said was that, the COVID-19 crisis, it changed the meaning of the term accessibility. And I love the way this is framed because really the accessibility is the experience. We have to make it accessible to people. Now, if we have technology that's not keeping up, if we're saying join us on this webinar and then everything crashes, that is the experience. So whether you have accessibility or not, that is really what people are going to walk away and think about as the experience. So the other challenge that we have here, connection is critical, but it's not the same. It's just not. And so I think we really have to look at how can we make things more relevant for our customers? How can we make sure that we are standing up and providing the experience that they need in the digital space or in these different places? A lot of times what's happened is we've taken the experience as we've always known it, and instead of innovating around that and thinking, what should the experience be? We just kind of slap that into the digital realm. We just say, okay, it worked when we were doing keynotes for 5,000 people in an auditorium. So let's just do that. And while that could feel the same, it's really not. Just taking that experience of a keynote, every single person on a digital experience has a front row seat. That's very different than somebody in an auditorium who might have thousands of people who can't really see that person on the stage. So it's a different experience. We have to design it and understand it that way. And so I reached out to Theodora Lau, who is the founder of Unconventional Ventures, and she's an innovation influencer. And she had something great to say here because she really got into that idea of, virtual channels, they're becoming our primary touch point. They're becoming what we have to look at. We have to look at digital first. And so instead of really thinking about, okay, what was the experience of the past and how can we just slap that into the digital realm? We have to rethink that whole experience and how can we provide it in a meaningful way for customers. That means rethinking what is the experience really like for them. So for instance, a telehealth visit, which I brought up before, that doctor might have questions, might want to see different things, might want to see you move a certain way. How can we prepare the patient for that? How can we make sure that they understand it's not just going to be a phone call? It's got to be something else. How can we help people who are a little technology adverse really become comfortable enough to have that conversation in the right context? There are so many things that we need to look at as the experience and transform around, okay, we're living in this digital world. How can we make sure that we're still emotionally connected? How can we make sure that the digital experiences are designed with that emotion in the forefront? It's not just about transforming the analog, it's about taking it one step further and designing for what it is. And then finally, the last challenge here, it can feel really tempting to just not plan. It feels too challenging right now. I totally get that. I mean, as we look to the fall, many of us don't know, will our kids be back in school? If so, will I have to be here 2 days a week? Will we have to juggle all these things? We don't know. And that's the bottom line. And so sometimes it can feel like, well, why plan for anything? But if we can look to what progress can we make? How can we help people in this moment? How can we plan for supporting our customers in that moment where they don't know what's going to happen next? All of those things need to be considered as we plan for the future. And I reached out to Sarah Evans, who's a digital influencer. She has a firm called Sevans Strategy. And one of the things that she stressed was that, you know what, customer experience has always been about humans, which I totally agree with. You guys have heard me talk about this, but it's also about really being who you are in every moment. And I just love the way she said that. You must live and breathe who you say you are and what you say you'll do. I mean, if we can all do that, if we can show our customers that it's not just about providing that different delivery of curbside pickup, it's not just about connecting with them on the digital realm. This is about being who you want to be and who you say you are everywhere with your customer. Because the brands that are doing well, they know who they are, and that doesn't change. So know your vision, know your values, and live them no matter what experience we are providing today. So planning around that, plan around who you are, who you want to be, and who your customers need you to be, and let that guide you for the rest of this year. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you're not too disappointed that I'm not there with you. But, these are the reminders for the rest of 2020. And I hope that if we can hang on to these, we can make the rest of this year as great as it can be. So the first one, delivery is different. So we need to focus on access. Make sure you use that lens of accessibility when you're looking at customer experience. Connection is critical, but it's not the same. I know. People have said this over and over, but we're on these calls all day. It's a different kind of exhaustion. It's a different kind of connection. So when you're looking at the new experiences that you're providing, how can you make sure they're emotionally connected with your customers? And then finally, it still needs to happen. We still need to plan around this, but give it the context it needs. Make sure you're looking at the progress you can make, but also be realistic about what your customers are going through as well. So 2020, it's been a doozy. I get it. And so I also want to thank all the kind influencers who provided quotes for me and who provided these insights for us as well. They're all fantastic people. Go follow them on Twitter, find them on LinkedIn. They're really good people to know. So thank you, everybody, for being here and for sharing in this content with me, and also just for showing up week after week. It really does mean so much to us. We always love to hear from you. If you have questions or suggestions about what we should cover in these webinars, we love to hear that. Feel free to use our site. We have a contact form there at Experience Investigators, or you can email me directly. Also, I love feedback. So let me know about the feedback that you have about this or others or anything else. We love to hear from you. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for doing what you do every day and your dedication to customers. The mission of my company and my personal mission is to create fewer ruined days for customers, because I really believe that makes the world a better place. And by you doing this, I know that you are dedicated to that too, and you are helping me live my mission. So thank you for that. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next week.